All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling the #1 everyday excuse that stops aspiring creators and entrepreneurs literally dead in their tracks. Every single day, incredibly talented people talk themselves out of starting a business, a side hustle, or a new creative project. And they almost always do it for the exact same reason. They take one look at the landscape and tell themselves, well, there are just too many people doing it already. So today, let's explore exactly why that specific fear isn't just wrong, but how it might actually be the very thing keeping us from getting ahead.
So we've got to ask that one agonizing question that's probably keeping you stuck in analysis paralysis right now. Is it too late? I mean, how many times have you asked yourself this? You get a flash of inspiration, you're super pumped, and then, boom, you open up your laptop, do a quick search, and your heart just sinks. You see that someone else has already had your big idea. So you close your laptop, you go back to your normal routine, and you convince yourself that you just missed the boat. We look around at these spaces, I'm talking YouTubers, local restaurants, online stores, freelance gig platforms, and it's so easy to assume the opportunity has completely vanished. Why? Because there are just too many people doing it. You look at YouTube and think, way too many creators. You look at your town and think, we already have enough restaurants. The gut instinct is to just throw in the towel before you even begin, because the market looks hopelessly saturated.
But here is the truly fascinating part. The people who actually find massive success, they rarely run away from a crowded market. Actually, they run directly into it. This is the strange reality that most folks completely miss when they look at successful people. While amateurs are out there desperately searching for a completely empty, uncontested space where no one else exists, the wealthy are hunting for the exact opposite. They see a massive crowd and they run straight toward it.
Section 1. The saturated market myth. Let's break down this massive misconception we've all been conditioned to believe.
We're taught from a young age that competition equals bad, right? Beginners look at an empty desert and think they see an opportunity. But experts know that a busy, thriving market proves demand actually exists. We naturally assume that if a lot of folks are selling something, the pie's already been eaten. But that is completely backwards. Think about that empty desert. There's absolutely zero competition out there. Why? Because there are absolutely no customers. Now picture a noisy, crowded marketplace. It's packed with competitors, sure, but more importantly, it's packed with buyers. Where there's competition, there's demand.
Section 2. The coffee shop analogy. Let's try a simple, relatable thought experiment here to see how this plays out.
Imagine you're an entrepreneur looking to open your very first cafe. You look at Street A, and there isn't a single coffee shop in sight. Then you look at Street B, and there are 10 different cafes, all lined up right next to each other. Now, a lot of beginners will look at Street A, the street with zero competition, and think they've just struck gold. They think they found the ultimate untapped opportunity.
But this brilliantly illustrates why being where the thousands of thirsty customers actually are is so much more important than being the only game in town on an empty street. Sure, you have zero competitors on Street A, but you also have zero thirsty customers walking by, probably because nobody actually wants to buy coffee on that street. Meanwhile, Street B has 10 competing shops, but it's got 1,000 thirsty customers walking by every single morning looking for their caffeine fix. Being the only option literally doesn't matter if nobody is buying.
Section 3. What you actually fear. Let's shift gears and look at the underlying psychology here.
When it really comes down to it, our genuine fear isn't market economics. As it turns out, we're only about 5% afraid of competitors. A whopping 95% of our fear is just the vulnerability of it all, failing and being judged by others. We tell our friends and family, oh, I'm not starting that business because the market is just too saturated. But the truth? Deep down, we're terrified of not being the absolute best right out of the gate. We're scared of putting ourselves out there, looking stupid, and having people judge us. Competition is just a really convenient scapegoat we use to protect our own ego.
Section 4. The value equation. Here is how we actually start overcoming that fear, using YouTube as a perfect example.
Everyone and their mother says YouTube is too saturated. But the real question isn't whether competitors exist, it's simply this: can you be useful? Think about it. Everyone insists it's completely impossible to grow a new channel today, yet we see brand new channels popping up and finding massive, highly engaged audiences every single day. They aren't worrying about the millions of other videos out there. They're hyper-focused on asking themselves, can I be useful to the person watching right now?
Because at the end of the day, value wins. Out of thousands of competing channels, if you can provide real value to a single viewer, your value will always win out. It really is that simple. The person on the other side of the screen doesn't care if 100 other people are making similar stuff. They only care about whether your specific video, product, or service solves their problem or entertains them in that exact moment. Value just cuts right through all that saturation noise.
Section 5, competition equals demand. Let's reiterate the core lesson you need to take away from this explainer today.
Competition is basically undeniable proof of three highly profitable realities. 1. Demand exists. 2. Customers are actively spending money. And 3. The market is totally alive. Honestly, if you see people doing exactly what you want to do, you should be celebrating. It means someone has already done the hardest part for you. They've proven that people will actively open their wallets and spend their hard-earned money on this exact thing.
In fact, diving into a market with zero competition, that can be incredibly dangerous because it usually means nobody is spending money. If you have an idea and absolutely no one in the world is doing it, there's a very, very small chance you're a visionary genius ahead of your time. But there's a much, much higher chance that people have already tried it and realized there are zero customers for it. And it's a harsh reality. No customers simply equals no money.
Section 6, the cost of waiting. Now we arrive at the emotional punchline. What actually keeps people poor? You know, the biggest cost you'll ever pay isn't the cost of failing, like launching your store and losing a few sales to a competitor. The real tragedy is the cost of waiting. What keeps people poor is never actually starting. It's sitting on the sidelines for years, letting your ideas gather dust, while everyone else is out there in the arena getting real-world experience, making mistakes, and getting way ahead.
Remember this phrase, competition is proof that somebody is getting paid. A saturated market is not proof that you're too late to the party. If there are 10 other freelancers offering the exact same graphic design service as you, it literally just means there are clients out there actively paying for graphic design right now. Your only job is to figure out how to offer just a little bit more value, maybe a bit more personality, or a slightly better experience than the rest of them.
So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this. Are you willing to step up and join the game? Or are you going to keep making excuses? The market is there. The money is there. The demand has been entirely proven by your competitors. The only missing variable right now is you. So are you going to let the fear of judgment keep you on the sidelines? Are you ready to embrace the competition and carve out your own piece of the pie? Something to chew on as you consider your next move.